Okay, let's jump in. Holly, can you throw up that slide for me right away? I don't know about you, but when I'm looking at my world right now, it feels like a whole lot of I against them. Like a whole lot. And as we look at Friend Church, we're in this journey. What did he say? Dare you to move. The first song, it's like this idea of there's more to this than just the war. But we need something to move us. And for us, it's this spiritual journey that Jeff said. We're going to Mexico to take water. We're going to Mexico to train us to be water carriers. That's this journey of going up this model, away from I against them, into we. And then into this beautiful place of going, where in the world can I make things better? To do that, though, we got to figure out us. Because I don't know about you, but there's moments, water moments all over the place, and I find it incredibly easy to rationalize why I am more important in this moment, and I need to take care of me. Or I'm so triggered, I can't even behave in a loving, caring, taking water kind of way. Gregory's line, I dare you to move. We've been looking at this work of the I through this metaphor of parts. I found this so helpful lately. The number of times I've said, I feel, hold on a second, no, a part of me feels, and I can just feel a freedom from that. The first week we showed how parts impact us. I brought up my friend Lori, and she talked about, she was 5 years old, and her best friend, not even her best friend, like her family, her sister, like they did everything. They lived side by side. They just lived with each other. And out of nowhere, her friend left. Abandoned her. There was no connection, no nothing. And she's like, I built a wall. I was so scared of someone leaving me that I built a wall around me to protect me from that horrible feeling. After that service, I heard a number of you say, oh, I know that feeling. And I know the wall. Last week, Jeff started to talk about the walls, gave us a bit more of a framework for the walls. He said when he was young, he brought home, I think it was this report card, and his grandfather, who he venerated, his grandfather saw it and was kind of like, where's the rest? And Jeff was like, he saw his face turn from, I love my grandson, to something different. And a part of him swore that he would do whatever it takes to never see that face expression again. 50 years later, 40 years later, Jeff's a young man still. The voice is still there. You have to do this so that they smile at you. You have to do this so they like you. You have to do this so that they think the best of you. We've all, I'd be willing to bet a lot of money that we all hear those voices. They just sound a little different to each of us. There's a story that Jesus, or is attributed to Jesus. It's about two sons. One son stays home. The other son says to his dad essentially this, screw you, I want you to die. Give me my inheritance and I'm out of here. They actually had, remember in Jewish culture, wisdom was actually thought of as divine. And the father had wisdom, a divine piece of their tradition that said, you never give your inheritance away until you're dead. The son asking for it says to the father, I see something in my son that's so unhealthy. But I think I need to do this. 18-year-old whack-a-cash. Actually, there's a news story just recently. a kid stole cryptocurrency, something like a couple $100 million. They posted his bar tab from one night. The receipt, a little over $500,000 in one night. This is the story of the younger son. He goes to whatever the Vegas of the ancient Near East was, and he just blows the money. You know, everyone's loving it because they're going, hey, whatever. Like, this guy's buying drinks, this guy's doing everything. Wonderful, let's do it. And all of a sudden, you could just see he's the center of the thing. Everyone's dancing around him going, wow, this guy is somebody. Until the money ran out. And he looked around and he saw nobody. It got worse. Couldn't feed himself. Had to find a job. Got a job feeding pigs. Now, in Jewish culture, pigs is something you avoid at all costs at a religious level. When the story says he got a job feeding pigs, it's the lowest of the lowest of the lowest of the spiritually lowest, whatever low you can come up with. That's what he's doing. It's disrespectful to him. His family would think, what in the world is going on? And I tell you this story for this one moment right here. Something shifts. One translation says, his eyes were opened, and he suddenly saw where he was. How did I get here? 12-step has a line, rock bottom. If anyone's lost an important relationship, you know this feeling. It's the moment where you suddenly go, you wake up, your eyes are open, you're going, how did I get here? In the language of this series, the son would have seen, I had a part that said, I don't want to be a part of this family. I probably had a part that said, I want to be the center of attention. You know, when you're spending $500,000 a night, everyone thinks you're the best. Can you imagine him? Center of attention, woo! There's a part of him that looked at his life and went, all these parts brought me to this moment. And this moment's horrible. His eyes were opened. Our tradition often uses the word divine for these moments. Something divine opened his eyes. I had a moment like that many years ago. The person I'm going to interview today, her name is Dana Mullen. I'm going to ask her to just come up on here. I'll come right up in a second. My life was not feeding pigs, but wasn't far away. And my eyes were so closed, I couldn't see anything. Looking back at my life at that point, I could see nothing. And I remember sitting down I went online and searched counselors because I was like, I don't know what to do. I saw Dana, I read her write-up, and something inside of me said, you need to go meet with this person, and I did. And I remember sitting in her office one day. We went through many things. But I remember sitting in her office one day. Someone in my life had said something to try and express something deeply emotional to them. Deeply. And all I could hear was the literal words. And so I burned the ships. I just burned the relationship down. I sat with Dana and I said, this is what had happened. And she said, Vince, can you not see past the words and see what's behind the words? I was like, but Dana, no, they said this. And she's like, Vince, no, you're not catching it. Can you see what, no, Dana, they said this. I remember her face when I finally opened my eyes. When she finally opened my eyes. And I went, oh, geez, how did I get here? For the person who opened my eyes. I'm supposed to call her my formal counselor because technically I don't see her, but she will always be a counselor. Her voice is still in my head, still saying to me, Vince, hey, buddy, open your eyes. Hey, open your eyes. In an effort to help us all open our eyes and see where we are stuck and I against them. I want you to give a big welcome to Dana Mullen. Thank you, Dana. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Rick.
Okay, everyone, this is Dana. I've known you for many years now. Your voice is in my head often. I have a WWD, what would Dana do, in my mind often.
I like that.
But today I'm going to ask you not to be my former counselor.
Okay.
I want you to be with our community because I want you to show them something that is part of all of this work, part of parts, part of everything. And I want to do it by having you talk through a story that you shared with me. It was a story you said, I don't know how long ago, you were taking your dog for a walk.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
It would have been last spring, so almost a year ago.
Can you walk us through the story?
Yeah. So,
I'll interrupt as I can.
Okay, sounds good. So yeah, I'm just getting ready to go out and walk my dog. It's a beautiful sunny day.
Okay.
I'm excited to get outside. Like fresh air is just my thing. And so we get about 3, and also context, it is a tiny dog. It's a little miniature schnauzer, like 9 pounds.
Like 9
okay,
pounds.
My little sweet little dog.
What's her name?
Maggie.
Maggie,
Yeah.
okay. You and Maggie out?
We're out like for a walk. We're so excited. We get about 3 doors down, and a boy opens his car door and screams at the top of his lungs.
Screams?
Like terror. And like I jump, like Maggie and I both jump and we're like, well, where's the danger?
Right.
Like there's danger.
Right.
So like where is it? And like I'm looking and I don't see anything. And so I just kind of pause for a moment and I just take a step forward, like I'm just going to keep walking because I'm thinking, there's no danger here. I did not do anything. This is not my thing.
That was not me.
Not me. I did not do it. So I take another step forward and then the mom opens the car door, stands up and says, get a hold of your effing dog as loud as you could scream it.
Like she's screaming at you.
At me. So I like jump back again because I can feel like there's like moments. Yeah, like I'm like, I can fight back. I can feel this in my body.
But what was the first moment? Was it like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, I felt defensive at first. Like I could feel the defensive part of me that just said like, whoa. No.
Whoa.
Yeah, whoa. And then...
Just 1 second. This is the moment where my former counselor does something really bad, and I'm really excited to hear this.
Yes. Could have.
I
could have.
Oh!
The good news is I didn't, but I could have. I was like, I can fight. Like, if you want to fight.
So there's a part of you that fired up.
So fired up. And I was ready to attack back. And I could feel it in my body. I could feel all the, like, heat and the tingling. And then I had, like, a moment. Like, there was, like, a split second.
Before you get to the
moment.
Jesus moment.
Okay. It's Jesus moment. It's
Whenever someone does something perfect, you're like, yeah, it's Jesus.
Yeah.
If someone yells at me, my first reaction is come back. But it kind of, my body feels like, it's like my shoulders come up, my chest goes out, and it's like, that feeling. Is that the kind of how it feels in your body in that moment with her?
Yes.
Because your body kind of crouched a little bit.
Yeah, well, I got defensive. Like, so I could feel myself be like, oh, I did something wrong. And then it was just this moment of, I'm going to lose it. Oh, yeah.
It's on.
Oh, yeah. Bad day. Like, I'm going to do this.
Okay.
And
then
I looked her in the eyes.
What did you see?
I saw fear. I saw mama bear protection. I saw just fear, terror.
Fear of?
I don't know. And the moment I didn't know, I just knew the feeling. I could see it on her face. And when I saw it on her face, I then felt like I felt open. Like I was like, oh, I felt compassion.
So you see the big fist coming in of like, oh, this is on. Mm-hmm. You don't yell at me this way.
Yeah.
That, something stopped it. How? How does that happen? Like when that fist comes in hard for me, it takes usually half an hour and then a lot of apologies after to pull that back and be like, sorry, I overreacted to that.
I've been there too. And
Okay.
and so after doing that so many times, there's like a little piece of when I look at somebody in the eyes,
Right.
there's a connection.
So you saw something in her eyes, or is it deeper than that?
It was deeper. Like, it was not just in her eyes. I mean, I felt like I connected with, like, her, who she was,
The mother in her and the mother in you.
the mother bear.
Ah.
It was like, oh, mama is protecting.
Is that when you realized the kid was scared of your dog?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because she said, get a hold of your effing dog.
Right.
So I knew it had something, but my dog was like little and like scared. She was also scared. We were both scared.
Right.
And the lady's getting mad at us. So we're like, I don't know what to do here.
Right.
So I just have that moment with her where I look at her in the eyes and I can see that. And I just said, Mama, don't worry. I've got my dog. Your son is safe.
What happened?
Well, I felt relaxed. Like, I was like, okay, like, this feels okay now. Like, it feels like I've let her know that she's safe with me, and
Right.
I've got my dog. And then right in that same moment, the boy comes out of the car and he's bawling. And he said, I'm just sorry. I'm really just terrified of dogs. Yeah.
There's something in you, though. This is the part I want to talk about, because, well, my story would have been I would have yelled back, but let's just say
Yeah.
I would have handled it properly. You guys would have all handled it properly, right? Everyone nod. Nailed it.
Yeah.
Take us back through the counselor in you. You're walking down the sidewalk. Why did you want to take your dog for a walk?
Well, for me, that is where I feel the most in, like, myself, in that core of who I am. Just getting in nature, walking.
When Schwartz, who designed internal family systems, he calls that part of us self, true self. Sometimes Dana will use the word self-energy.
Vince doesn't like that. It's too woo-woo.
A little woo-woo.
It's
It's okay.
too much energy. in the
It's
room.
like floating. I don't know.
Yeah.
But there's a sense of you that your day started with going, I'm not in self-energy. If I take my dog for a walk, it gets me into that self.
Yeah.
Do you know that feeling of self? Do you have that thing in your life that you're going, oh, that kind of gets me settled? Okay, then the dog or the kid screams. What happens to self in that moment?
Well, I can still feel access to it because I'm outdoors and I'm doing the thing that relaxes me and makes me feel calm and connected.
Right.
But I can definitely feel the other part coming in.
What's the other part?
An angry part, a defensive part, a don't attack me part.
So that's but even the scream, was that anger, or was it like danger?
I think Vince, so many parts came in at that moment. Like, really, I'm scared. I don't know what's happening.
Right.
There's an angry part. Like, why are you screaming at me? I
Right,
don't know yet.
right.
So it feels like a lot of parts kind of pop in right in that moment.
When you see, again, you work with clients all the time. You see a couple, because you're primarily a couples counselor, you do everything, but couples come into you, this one does something, all of a sudden this one gets flooded with parts. What do you see in the partner that's flooded with parts? Are they skillful? Are they are they doing the things you tell them to do? Like, what goes on in there?
In the one who is triggered in their parts.
Yeah.
Well, they get hijacked. They
Okay.
get hijacked by their parts.
And what does that look like?
It looks like a reaction. So it'll look like defensiveness. Like, their face will change and they'll clench their jaw and they'll frown or like do this. They'll they change their whole energy of their. Oh, I used energy again. Sorry.
Woo woo.
Woo woo.
If she says energy again, just say woo woo, and she'll
Yeah,
remember.
I'm trying not to say it. But everything changes in their demeanor.
Right.
And so you can, if you're watching someone's face, your
Right.
eyes are your windows to your nervous system. Also, some would say to your soul. And Richard Schwartz would say to yourself. Your
Right.
true self is in the eyes.
Right.
And so access is there. When couples, one gets dysregulated and the other one looks at the other one in the eyes, now they're in real time. So now they have an ability to see past the part.
When someone, though, the parts come in, do they lose self? Is that what you see like when you see the person's face? Is it their self is still there, or is it like self goes away somehow? What do you see?
It's sometimes not easy to see if they're in self or not, but often there's still some of that online. And I mean, our self is when we're feeling that calm, connected, clear, creative, confident.
Actually, put it on the screen. Can you
Yeah.
throw it up for us, Holly? Just leave it up on the screen so you can see as Dana talks, you can see the 8 C's. This is the core attributes of self. Would you say it that
Yes.
way?
Yeah. That's how you know you're in self. And Richard also talks about the 5 P's, which is presence. I know it's another whole one. Presence and persistence. And
Right.
I can't remember the other ones, to be honest. But
They're really good, though.
They're really good, too. You should look them up. But when somebody is in a part, they're not likely going to be in full self.
Right.
So there could be some of that online.
So if we look at parts as a metaphor, there's this self that sees us, that is skillful, that can do the thing, does the right thing, knows what to do. That was you saying, hey, mama, like, it's okay. I'll protect your kid from my dog.
Yeah.
That was self.
Yeah.
The fight, I'm going to, like, how dare you say this to me? That was the part that came in for
Yeah.
you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
When couples in your office and the parts come in, do they tend to be skillful in that moment? When they've lost self?
No.
No.
Were you expecting me to say something else?
No, I'm expecting you to say this moment of like, you sometimes watch them and you just go like, how did you go from what you were in a second ago to all of a sudden you're just like,
Yeah. It like you've named this series Hijacked, that is literally what happens and we're not aware of it. When we get hijacked in a part, we feel like it's us. And some people have lived in a part for so long that it's a mood, it's a state. It's like, well, I am
right,
depressed. I am angry.
right,
I am scared. And so the longer that we stay in those parts, the less access we have to self-energy.
but Dana, this is what they said.
Yes.
I learned in that moment that most of my life was in an academic or an intellectual part.
Yeah.
And I thought that's, just like you said, I thought that's who I was. Is that the right way of saying it? I couldn't see myself other than through that part. Is that maybe a better way of saying it?
Yeah, and these parts came up throughout your life to protect you from something. So when we are born, we are in self.
Right.
Like there is no parts yet.
Right.
Parts come in when somebody yells at you and says, don't cry, or don't do that thing with your face, or whatever it is. And then it's like, oh, okay, noted, got it, won't
Right.
do that again.
Yeah.
Part forms and is
Right.
like, okay, we'll protect that part again.
Right.
And then a little bit less of that self-energy is on during that time.
Right.
Because it's like, it's not safe to. I have to
Right.
protect.
Right. Go back to your story, you're feeling like I need to connect to self. So even someone like you has to go and read, and yours partly is taking your dog for a walk, that helps you reconnect to self.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Fear, first triggers fear, second triggers anger. We've talked about this. Anger and you and I both we fight back. That's
Yeah.
what we do. You said, I looked into her eyes. You have couples sitting side or across, looking at each other's eyes. Does it always work, or is that just sometimes it works? If you're kind of like, if there's enough self, you can see a human and go, oh, wait a second. This isn't what they're saying. There's something underneath that.
Yeah, it does work because it gets people in real time. So when you're in eyes, you can't be in your head.
What do you mean real time? What does that mean to you?
Real time means like in the moment right now. Like when I'm looking at you right now, this is really happening. I'm not thinking in my head as well very much. I can't. So it brings the arousal back to I'm just in your space right now. We're looking at each other.
Okay.
There's a connection there. So that's where self is. If you want to try and access somebody's self, you want to look at them in the eyes.
Is that why we often want to look away? Like you're having a conversation, it's like, okay, I want to look away.
That's how we think.
I want to get around.
Thinking, yeah.
I don't want to be here. This is too
Yeah,
much.
it is.
I just need a break. Okay, back.
Yeah, and it is for a lot of people. For a lot of people, eye contact is very triggering. It is for all of us, to be honest, like depending on the person.
Okay.
You're safe, I know you, so it doesn't trigger me. But if it was a stranger, it could.
Right.
It's possible.
I'm just going to give you guys a side note. I happened to be in therapy one time with someone who looks a lot like Dana, and her rhymes with Dana. And she made me do therapy with her sitting like a foot away from me, looking into her eyes. I still remember that moment. Anyways, back to where we were.
Yes, I know. I do too.
It was
actually.
good. Why did you do it? No. Okay, we'll let that go.
Yeah.
Okay, woman freaks out. You have enough. So self isn't an all or nothing thing. It's kind of like I'm fully in self. I can be partly in self. But you have these parts coming in. So your anger part, first fear part comes in, anger part comes in. Yeah. You see mama, and you saw into her soul, and you went, oh, wait, this isn't what she's saying. There's something else behind this.
Yeah.
Does that always happen for you? when your partner says something, you're married, right?
Yeah, yeah.
When your partner says that thing that drives you bananas, can you do the self thing, or are you sometimes like, oh no, that part takes over?
If I can get into his eyes or my daughter, it'll be my youngest, if not, who will
Okay.
trigger me. Yeah.
Most likely?
Most likely her. She's
Okay.
7. Yeah.
And does she like you?
Yeah. She came here to teach me lessons,
Okay,
apparently.
good.
So, yeah, I thought I had it all together until I had her. And then I don't.
All the things you know? Yeah, no.
Yeah, yeah. So if I can get into her eyes and lower the body too. The other way, if you're with your partner, sit on the floor. This is a nice way to bring, because then you get out of fight, flight, or freeze. Your brain will start to say, we're not in threat, because you don't sit on the floor cross legs.
With like an adult? Mm-hmm. Like me and my wife sit on the floor and
Yeah. And so if this is what I do,
she's laughing. I don't know. I don't think she's buying
it's
this.
like, I don't like this. If it's with a partner, you could, if you're triggered, that's what I do. I'll sit on the floor to show I'm triggered, and then my partner will come and sit.
But what you're doing is, no, let me just phrase this as a question. Is what you're doing aware of self and aware when you're losing self, and then watching yourself internally going, okay, whoa, I'm losing self. I need to do something to regain self.
Yeah, get to the floor. It's
And
like
whatever I normally do is not going to get me there. I need to do something different.
Yeah, or practiced. So I think that the more aware you are of your parts, the more that you can practice. How am I going to respond when they come up?
Yeah.
Right?
I guess some ones are regulars. They're like, oh, hey, Vince.
Yeah, it is. You're like, you again. Hello.
Excellent work.
Yes.
Thank you for protecting me.
Yes. And then with your partner, if they get to know your parts as well.
Yeah.
So if my husband says something that triggers me, I look for the younger part in him. I'll just look. I usually just try and go 9, like a 9-year-old part. I'm like,
Okay.
9-year-old part is a little upset right now.
If you say that, does that work with him?
As long as I'm calm, I can't be condescending. Like I'm like, "Aw, babe, you're like totally upset right now."
He's like, "Wah!"
Yeah, he's like, "Are you condescending?"
Yeah,
No, I mean I have to be in enough self. If
Right.
I'm really triggered and irritated, that will go poorly.
Right.
Yeah.
But self, what you're meaning is, it's not a part that's talking. There's something up above, below. There's something wiser, there's something beautiful that can see pain in other people, can see the nuance,
Yeah.
can see someone's part reacting, and you're like, oh, that was just a part of you.
Yes. Yeah.
How do you develop that in your clients? How do you develop self-awareness?
Well, through a lot of different ways, actually. Like I wouldn't say that there's one, but noticing them is just the first piece. So if same as the work that you do, I think, Vince, when you notice something in someone, you're like, oh, I notice a part of you seems frustrated. I notice a part of you didn't like what I just said. Like something like that. So I'm letting you know that I'm noticing you, which is attunement, which helps people feel more connected and seen and heard and understood. Then they get a moment to go, oh yeah, I do have a part of me that's frustrated right now or overwhelmed.
Would you be open to sharing what parts are here with us today for you?
Sure.
What parts are showing up for you?
Oh, I'm excited. Lots of excitement.
Okay. Is there a part of you that's excited about what?
Just being here and doing this. I mean, for me, public speaking is something that's new and can be very triggering. So I had to talk to my parts a lot on the way here.
Okay.
I was like, we're good. Like, this is going to be fun. And they were like, okay.
Did they buy it?
They did, actually.
Oh, really? When you said this could be fun?
Yeah. Well, I've been working with these parts for a long time, so this
Okay.
isn't new. I know where this stems from. I know the age. I can see myself.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have your whatever small part, you know the protectors.
Yeah.
Are you kind to them?
Always. Always. Any part, no matter what it is, I'm kind to them.
When you watch a client and they're mean to their parts, what happens inside of them? What do you see?
How would they be mean to their parts? What do you mean?
Well, I tell my parts to shut the F up quite regularly.
You shouldn't. That's not very nice.
I know, but I do.
Yeah. It's just stop.
I know, but I have another part that's saying, no, I'm not going to. But again, sometimes we look at these parts and we're like, you keep screwing my life up.
Yeah.
Like, shut the fuck up.
They're coming for a reason because you haven't worked with them.
So how do you help people when you have a client who's in the negative part? I know you probably don't say, don't do that.
Yeah.
What's the ramifications of not being kind to your parts? What do you see in humans?
Oh.
Does it impact their connection to self?
Yeah, they don't then get access to self, so the part then takes over. Sometimes there's two parts that are like opposite, right? Dichotomous parts that are fighting each other, and you have to be able to see into both of them. But when we let a part take over, and we're just like, I hate this part, but it's who I am. It becomes what we see in the room.
So as you work with people, and you help them find self. Do they have those moments of like open their eyes? Like,
Yeah, oh yeah.
what
All
do you
the
see
time.
in that?
Oh, a huge connection and just love and compassion for each other. And like it's an aha. They're like, oh, so this wasn't us fighting like this. This was like 3 and 7-year-old parts of us. And there is aha moments where they start to realize, I didn't know that. I just thought that was me.
Right. What's the line from the Bible? My eyes were opened. It's almost like I didn't open them. It's suddenly they opened up and I went, oh, geez,
Yeah.
this is what I've been doing. This is the fight we've been having. This is why we keep coming back to this same thing.
And taking that, Vince, eye contact is how we connect, and it's how we co-regulate somebody else. It's how we regulate another person's nervous system.
So co-regulate keep us both in self? Is that what you
Yeah.
mean by that word?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So same, like this is what I preach is look in the eyes. Always. Look, because when we get into, say, a conflict, we usually look away. And then
Right.
we get tight. And then we start to do something, but we're not looking at the person.
Right.
We're starting to get into that
And then my
spiral.
parts start talking and say,
Yeah.
they did this on purpose, and this is what
Yeah.
they mean, and this is how you have to respond. And
Yep. And then you have a whole database of memories that validate that
Oh, of
state.
course. Yeah.
That then say, everybody's done this to you, and she's done that to you 75,000 times.
And I can hear my language go from this just happened to this always happens.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you always have done this.
Yes.
It's like, oh.
Yeah.
When you see people in self, like when they first open their eyes in front of you, what's their reaction? How do they respond? Are they like this is magic? Are they like, screw this, I don't believe in this? You're using woo language, I don't like that.
Yeah. It's usually within the couple when it happens with an individual, it's usually a little different because doing IFS, usually their eyes are closed and they're connecting with their own parts.
Right.
But when I'm doing it with a couple, they feel that with each other. So I don't get that eye contact from them. They're in each other's eyes.
Right.
And they just melt. I mean, they just get soft and it's like the layer of whatever they were dealing with just doesn't matter anymore.
As we look at Friend Church, we talk about I and they, I against they at the bottom level. Do you think that self is the way we get to this connection of we? Is that, like if you look at kind of in a broad picture, is that what you would see in your clinical practice?
Definitely.
Take it back to you. There's a moment, the mama bear comes out.
Yeah.
Can you feel the mama bear in you?
Not right this second, but I could earlier when I was thinking about it. Yeah.
And it's like, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say now there's just so much compassion for it. And partly because the piece of the story that hasn't been told that I found out probably 3 weeks after this walk was that this family was from Nigeria, recently came to Canada.
Okay.
And in Nigeria, animals, dogs in particular, are guard dogs. And so they're meant to attack.
Gotcha.
So now I get this whole upgrade of my memory of dogs is loving, cuddling like my best friend.
Maggie.
Yeah, Maggie. And their memory is terror and threat and trauma.
Yeah.
And so their nervous system scanned for, is this safe, dangerous, or life-threatening?
Right.
And it went life-threatening.
Life-threatening. And
Yeah.
the mom was like,
I'm the one.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
what does it feel like when you start to lose your self-energy? Where do you feel that in your body? Can you feel it?
Yeah, in my chest, like I would say that I feel like the flooding and like heat.
Oh, heat.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then clenching hands. But I do that when I'm excited too, so that's confusing. In case I do that up here, not mad.
I can feel I have an old wound that it kind of comes out like this. I can feel it kind of sits outside of me. And as soon as I start to feel that, I'm like, oh, time out.
Yeah.
I need to take a couple deep breaths and figure out where myself is.
Yes.
And then I'm nicer to it. Hey, buddy, I don't
Yeah.
think we need to be here this week.
Yeah. All right now.
Yeah. Can you feel the crowd right now? Can you feel their connection to self?
Yeah.
It's kind of pretty, it's kind of, I guess, energetic, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Oh, there you go again. We got him to say it.
That was for you. That was just for you.
Thank you.
I know part of your life's work is to help us find connection again. Is self one of the ways you do it?
Yes.
So as you inspire a community like this, it's this plus tens of thousands of people online.
Mm-hmm.
When you think of your words going to those people and helping them find self, what parts talk to you at that point?
I think that for me, it goes back down to like just the process of self-loving, just loving and going through kind of your whole life and finding the aspects of your life that have been like impactful and loving, like if they're a failure, if they were an embarrassment, if they were whatever they are, like we get to reparent those parts of ourselves. So when I can go back to a part of myself and go like, oh, I felt alone there. And now I get to be that part for that part. I get to be self for that part.
As you inspire us all to self, what parts show up in you?
Self, really, mostly, and therapist part.
Okay.
Like just loving, connecting people. I mean, for me, that's
Why is that? Why so important to you?
Well, that goes back to my childhood. I'm an only child, and I was raised with my parents and standing between them, and like I just always knew this is what I wanted to do. So it's like to change the culture of relationships is my goal.
You've done it for me.
You're
You've
welcome.
inspired. Yes, thank you. Sometimes it was not easy for me, but you opened my eyes many times.
You did the work, though.
Thank you. I appreciate the kind words. You also inspired me to share it with our community, and you've been here many times. So on behalf of all of us, as we work towards self, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
That was a bit more revealing than I prefer, wasn't it? I have a part that's saying, let's not do that again, shall we? But honestly, as I look through my life and realize how many times I've not been in self, and I had a part screaming to protect me, I've put a lot of I against them into the world when I'm in those parts of my life. And chances are you have too. As Gregory said, we have a choice. We can let those failures define us and let those parts run our lives. But I think we will end up metaphorically feeding pigs, like the story of the two sons. If that wasn't bad enough, I don't think the problem is just it impacts us. It impacts everybody. So we have a choice. Do we do this work? Do we find self? The part that says to the angry part, the part that says to the sad part, the part that says to the whatever part, I see you. I know what you're doing. Thank you. And in that way, we move up this model and start creating a we moment. And then the we gets connected to the entire world that we don't even meet. Our work puts self as gift into the entire world by taking water. That is our choice today. May we do this work. May we heal ourselves so that we heal the entire world. It's been Dana's life work. She's inspired me to bring this into my life, and in that way, hopefully inspired you guys. This is not easy, but it's worth it. Dana said after the meeting, do you guys say amen? It's like, not really. We say hell yes, but whatever. Let's say amen. Have a great week, everyone. Take care.